Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive takes us to a really powerful chapter in the Bible.
Oh, it's Deuteronomy.
You got it, Deuteronomy 28.
Okay.
It's all about the blessings. And, well, maybe we could call them challenges.
Mm-hmm.
The things that happen when you follow or don't follow a certain set of principles.
Right.
And the structure of this chapter. It's fascinating.
It's wild.
It's like a cosmic balance sheet, almost.
It is fascinating how Deuteronomy 28, like you said, lays out these two distinct paths. Obedience leading to blessing.
Right.
And then disobedience leading to curses.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting the text doesn't hold back when it describes either side.
No kidding. The imagery is so vivid.
Yeah.
It's like you can almost feel the abundance in those blessings, thriving families, overflowing storehouses, enemies scattering like, I don't know, like startled birds.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for success.
You really hit it there. It's more than just material wealth, though.
Oh, yeah.
It paints this picture of overall well-being, like this sense of peace and security that I think we all kind of yearn for.
I think so.
Yeah.
But then there's the flip side, and it is not pretty.
No.
It's like the text is giving you this warning.
Right.
Like, hey, stray from the path, and things are going to get rough.
Yeah, the curses that are in Deuteronomy 28, they're definitely sobering. I mean, they range from agricultural disasters to disease and ultimately even exile.
Wow.
And it's written in this way where it feels like a downward spiral, like one misfortune just leads to another.
It's kind of scary. There's this one curse that really stopped me in my tracks when I was reading this.
Oh, really?
That idea of the sky turning to brass.
Oh, yeah.
And the earth to iron.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Ah, it is.
It's like this heavy weight bearing down on you.
Yeah.
Almost like
a metaphor.
Yeah, a metaphor for this feeling of being trapped.
That's a great observation. It speaks to a sense of hopelessness. A feeling that your efforts are constantly being thwarted. And sadly, I think that feeling resonates even today, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's this powerful reminder, even if you're not, a religious person.
Right.
That our actions or even our inactions often have consequences that ripple outward. Yeah. And that's something worth thinking about, whether we're talking about, ancient Israel or the modern world.
Absolutely. These ideas about choice and consequence, they're universal, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, how can we apply these ancient principles to our modern lives? Yeah. What are the modern equivalents?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one we are going to explore.
Definitely.
Right after this.
Yes.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back.
Yes.
And I think the big question is, how does this ancient text, Deuteronomy 28,
speak to us in the 21st century?
Yeah.
How can we apply these ideas of blessings and curses to our modern everyday lives?
Well, it's about recognizing the timeless principles that are embedded within these ancient stories.
Yeah.
Take, for example, the blessing found in Deuteronomy 28:4.
Okay.
It says, "Blessed shall be the fruit of your body and the fruit of your ground and the fruit of your cattle, the increase of your kine and the flocks of your sheep."
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I know, right?
You might be thinking, wait a minute, I'm not a shepherd.
Exactly.
What does this have to do with me?
Yeah.
But if you look beyond the literal interpretation, you start to see a broader principle at play.
Exactly. It's about this idea of productivity, of abundance, of seeing the things you nurture flourish.
Yeah.
This can apply to your career,
okay,
your creative projects, your relationships, anything you put your time and energy into.
So instead of literal crops
and livestock, we can think of this as applying to, say, our personal growth. Our contributions to our community.
Yeah.
Even our investments, both financial and emotional.
Precisely. It's about investing wisely, working diligently, and watching those efforts bear fruit.
Okay, I love that. Taking this ancient wisdom and giving it a modern makeover.
Yes.
But what about those curses?
Right.
How do we apply those to the here and now?
Well, let's look at Deuteronomy 28:23.
Okay.
It speaks of the sky turning to brass and the earth to iron.
Yeah, that's intense imagery.
It is powerful imagery. Imagine that feeling of being trapped, of your efforts constantly being met with resistance.
Oh, yeah.
Being unable to make progress no matter how hard you try.
That feeling of hitting a wall, of being stuck in a rut, I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not literal brass and iron.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of hopelessness, like a sense that the world is conspiring against you.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is a consequence of our own choices, you know, neglecting our responsibilities, ignoring red flags, or just allowing negativity to take root.
So these curses, in a way, are kind of cautionary tales.
Yeah.
Urging us to be mindful of our choices and their potential consequences. But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Dwelling on the negative can get pretty heavy.
Right.
How do we shift the focus back to those blessings?
Right.
To creating that sense of abundance and well-being that Deuteronomy 28 promises.
Well, that's where the real work begins.
Okay.
You know, taking these ancient principles and translating them into actionable steps that we can incorporate into our daily lives. Yeah. And that's what we'll be diving into in the final part of our deep dive.
All right. So we've talked about the blessings and the curses in Deuteronomy 28.
Right.
But like, how do we actually, how do we create a life that embodies those blessings today?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
I think the key here is realizing that it's not about you know, rigidly following this set of ancient rules.
Right.
Instead, it's about embracing those core values.
Okay.
The values that underpin those blessings.
Like what?
Things like integrity, diligence, respect for others, and really a commitment to living in harmony with ourselves and the world around us.
So it's more about cultivating a certain mindset.
Exactly.
A way of being.
Yeah, it's not about checking off a list of do's and don'ts.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's like tending a garden.
Exactly.
You create the right conditions.
Right.
Fertile soil, ample sunlight, consistent watering.
Yeah.
And then everything flourishes.
And the plants naturally flourish.
Yeah.
In the same way, if we nurture the qualities within ourselves that are conducive to well-being, then the blessings will naturally flow into our lives.
That's how do we cultivate that inner garden?
That's a great question. I think self-awareness is paramount.
Okay.
You know, take time to reflect on your values, your beliefs, your actions. Yeah. Ask yourself, like, am I living in alignment with my highest ideals?
Right.
Am I treating others with kindness and respect?
Okay.
Am I making choices that contribute to my well-being and the well-being of those around me?
So it starts with that deep dive into ourselves, figuring out what really matters, and where we might be falling short.
Yeah, and once you have that clarity, you can pinpoint areas where you might need to...
or correct?
Yeah, course correct, exactly.
Okay.
Maybe it's setting healthier boundaries in your relationships. Yeah. You know, prioritizing your mental and physical health, or just finding ways to contribute to your community.
So it's about taking responsibility for our own happiness and well-being, but also realizing that, like, we're interconnected.
Exactly. And that brings us to, you know, the essential principle of interconnectedness. Yeah. The blessings in Deuteronomy 28, they're not just about individual prosperity. They encompass this flourishing of the entire community.
So it's not just about me, myself, and I.
Right.
It's about recognizing our actions.
Exactly.
And how they ripple outward.
And that contributing to the well-being of others ultimately contributes to our own.
It's like that whole rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. Yeah. When we foster a culture of kindness, compassion, and support, everyone benefits.
It's amazing how this ancient text, Deuteronomy 28, offers these profound insights into living a fulfilling life even today.
Yeah, even in our modern world.
Right. It reminds us that we have a choice.
You do.
To live in alignment with the principles that lead to blessings, or to stray from that path. Yeah. And risk those curses.
And risk experiencing those curses,
Which can manifest in so many ways.
Yeah.
It's empowering to realize that we're not just passive recipients of fate.
Right. We have the agency to shape our destiny.
And in doing so, contribute to a world where those blessings abound.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We've journeyed through ancient wisdom.
We have.
Explored consequences of our choices.
Yeah.
And discovered practical ways to cultivate a more blessed life.
It is a lot to ponder.
It is.
But definitely worth the effort.
I think so, too.
I hope this conversation has inspired our listeners to, you know, reflect, engage with these timeless principles, and maybe even experience a few aha moments along the way.
I hope so, too.
Yeah.
Until our next deep dive.
Yes.
May you all continue to explore, to question, and to strive towards a life
Yeah.
filled with blessings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.